Yes, Annabelle, the alarm went off. Alarms went off. Good job. Yes, you are correct. Here we are, y'all. If the teacher is 15 minutes late to the live stream, we are legally allowed to not take the test tomorrow. You are legally allowed not to take the test tomorrow anyway. Either way. Okay. All right. Maybe if no one goes to school tomorrow, he will cancel. Just take the test and enjoy it. Hey, what do we got? I reserve the right to kill the live stream if Christina Yu yells at me. Feel like not much is happening. Anybody got a question? What are political machines? And here it starts. Can I go over education? Wow. So political machines, remember the corrupt organizations where the machines use their money and influence to help out immigrants and poor people. And in return, the poor people and immigrants give the machines their votes. The machines then skim lots of money off the top of the city treasury and enrich themselves with bribes and kickbacks and graft and corruption. Highly illegal stuff. Salvation Army. We talked about this in class. What is the significance? People are concerned about Salvation Army creating more poor people, social Darwinism and all that jazz. We don't want to perpetuate the poverty problem. Trusts are a way to consolidate and eliminate wasteful competition. Trusts are in the name of efficiency. Horatio Alger, Rags to Riches story, myth of the self-made land. Okay, don't ask me to define stuff. Ask me why stuff matters. Kampala, you just got ziggied. You are in timeout. Okay, what's the difference between political machines and boss rule? Nothing. They are more or less synonymous. The bosses are the heads of the political machines. All right. Pragmatism is the ends justify the means. Good for you, Kyle. How did universities and colleges change? There were three things. One was land grant universities set up by the states. They're public universities like Penn State, Michigan State, Ohio State, Iowa, Indiana, for the public good. They're big into agriculture, engineering. Two, tycoon universities like Stanford University, started by railroad mining tycoon Leland Stanford. What do you do with your money? You give back to the community by creating a university. And then three, research and development, partnership between businesses and universities to research and develop new products, new innovations, new technology. It is a uniquely American concept. Elevated railway. No, I think, Ron, you're pretty solid there. L trains, trolleys, subways allow cities to grow out. Bellamy's one of the critics. He's one of the critics of the rise of big business and worries about the massive consolidation that is going on. Okay. What else? Interstate laws. You have vertical integration matter for the common folk? I'm not sure it does. It's business consolidation. Who would support social Darwinism? I mean, people who are wealthy or middle class or people who are comfortable because clearly they're doing things right. That's what I would say. Got the ash can. Can I go over all of the strikes? I mean, do we need to? They all kind of follow the same sort of thing. Pullman strike is a railroad strike. Great Railroad strike is shockingly a railroad strike. Homestead strike is Carnegie Steel. What do the workers want? They want better wages. They want shorter hours. They want better working conditions. And in all three cases, the companies hired goons and government troops crushed the strikers. And so, to me, the big takeaway from the strikes is that government is siding with big business during this particular time period. Right? Well, I mean, what is Tammany Hall, right? I mean, you guys are asking for significance. I guess, led to, resulted from, or example of, right? It's time to, gang, it's time to training wheels, right? It's December. So, highbrow, lowbrow. I mean, aren't these examples of leisure time? Examples of differences in leisure time between the well-off and the poor? I mean, we gotta start thinking for ourselves, y'all. Okay? Why do any strikes happen? Because the workers are unhappy and they want higher wages, shorter hours, better working conditions. Okay? Isha, we have gone over the multiplier effect for railroads 10,000 times. You take a railroad and you build it, and that stimulates multiple industries like steel and coal and real estate and finance and lumber and stone, real estate, agriculture and mining and farming. Come on, gang. Yep. No, I would not worry about the Bessemer and open hearth process. That was an 8x11 concept. It is not something that Brinkley goes into a lot. Jaden, you Google search Frederick Law Olmsted, and then you tell me what the connection is, because it's going to take you like 4 seconds. Okay. Who is most scared of the spread of monopoly? That's a great question. Who is more scared of the spread of monopoly? I'm going to go laborers and small businesses both, but for different reasons. If you're a laborer, you are worried about high prices. You are worried about the unstable economy. You are worried about income inequality. If you are a small business, you are worried about the lack of economic opportunity, the inability to stay alive in a market that is dominated by big business. Outstanding question. Good stuff. That really is good stuff. Just different reasons, right? Workers will work for someone regardless. Depends. I mean, workers get laid off and replaced by immigrants. Blue Powerade. No, purple. Check your colors. All right. Do we need to know the difference between different critic writers? Oh boy. Bellamy, as it says above, Bellamy is worried about the one big government-controlled trust. It's socialism without the revolution. Henry George wants a single tax. Lester Frank Ward wants government intervention. I think that's probably as much as you need to know. Okay. Holding companies and trusts, they're both ways to consolidate businesses, merge, and avoid wasteful competition. One of the things we said during the lecture, don't get super bogged down in the holding company and the trust, and you're going to look it up online and it's going to be a plate of spaghetti. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Trusts and holding companies are very much about consolidation, eliminating competition, and increased efficiency. They are legal means of getting around state laws that would prevent major multi-state corporations. Okay. I thought it was the American Protective Association, APA, and the Immigration Restriction League, IRL. I mean, how are the public going to react to them? I think that some people in the public are going to be all for it because they're worried about the impact of immigrants on American culture and the American job market, and others are going to be somewhat indifferent to immigrants and or their plight. So, Kyle, I think we're going to have to put a pin in that, and we're going to have to look at chapters 19 and 20. Okay. Graft is bribery. It's corrupt money. It's dirty money. That's what graft is. It's bad. It's associated with political machines. Eugene Debs is a socialist, right? Eugene Debs is a socialist, and he wants to go ahead and get rid of classes. The workers would own the means of production. The working class would be in control. Government ownership of property, that sort of thing. I would say Debs is someone we're going to hear from again a few times. All right, he ain't going away. Yeah, Balo, those are the Seven Sisters, right? Women's schools that grow up as kind of like a women's version of the Ivy League. How did the assembly line impact workers? Okay, that's a pretty good question. I would think that the assembly line is very much going to favor or allow businesses to increasingly bring in unskilled workers, which are cheaper, right? So assembly line, it's moving. You do one job, you do it over and over again. You learn by rote, and you're easily replaced. It gives power back to the corporations, right? Because they don't have to hire skilled workers, they don't have to pay for skilled labor. But on the other hand, the assembly line is also going to make factories and businesses more efficient, which is what they're driving for. Okay. Yeah, government doesn't want to. That's not a question. Yep. Was vertical and horizontal integration legal? Well, it is. It is. Yeah, it is. Using trust and holding companies, you can get around any pesky state laws that would prohibit it. All right. So overt graft is out in the open, right? And I think what the words we were using when it came to graft, it's bribery, it's kickbacks. Yeah, you talked about the land sales, but um, again, I don't think you're going to be asked 3 or 4 different types of graft. I I think you just need to know the political machines are skimming money off the top. They're taking money away. Don't get too bogged down in that. Okay. That one was illegal. Yeah, graft, bribe, and kickbacks are all illegal. Yeah, no, I wouldn't get bogged down in the graft. I wouldn't. You guys are really interested in graft, bribery, corruption, kickbacks. It's not a how-to manual. Okay, you're going to end up in the pokey. You're going to end up in jail. Stop taking notes on the illegal money. Yeah. Yeah, I think Carnegie is our example of vertical integration, and Rockefeller is our example of horizontal integration with an asterisk, because later on in his business career, Rockefeller will go vertical. Okay. What was Eugene v. Debs? It was a mythic battle between Eugene and Debs, fighting for control of the One Ring to rule them all. Didn't like that answer, did you? What? Yeah. Someone asked me what was Eugene v. Debs. Yeah, it did. Somebody renamed Lord of the Rings Eugene v. Debs. You know, the single tax, I think it's Henry George's way of, if the railroad corporations made big money off land grants, I think for Henry George, the single tax is a way to A, penalize the companies on money they didn't really earn, and B, you could use that money to solve some of our social problems like the slums and the tenements and that sort of thing. Okay. JP Morgan is hand in hand with Andrew Carnegie. That's the vertical integration. JP Morgan's US Steel is vertical integration. Okay. Yes, I agree, Kyle. The National Consumers League used women's power as consumers. We talked about that today. Avi, did we put it on the board? Yes, you need to know about the Salvation Army and its concern over, the social Darwinist concern. Were strikes pretty much ineffective? I think so, because the strikers always lose in Chapter 18. They always get crushed by hired goons. They always get crushed by government troops. So I'm not sure the strikes are real effective. The workers go on strike, they don't get paid, they get their heads beat in, and then they lose their jobs and they're replaced by immigrants or other labor. I'm not sure any of those are a win. Okay. Zoning. I think zoning is how do we clean up the cities Well, by removing where people live from the nastier parts of cities, like factories, like slaughterhouses, like landfills, like sewer, wastewater treatment plants, it would not be especially fun to live next to a plant where they take raw sewage and turn it into clean water. So zoning ordinances separate the nasty nitty gritty of city life from residential areas. That was the example I gave of Ford Road. Ford Road is zoned commercial from 275 to Canton Center. You can only build a business on Ford Road. If you go west of Canton Center toward Beck Road, now you can start putting houses up. Try and separate where people live from commercial settings. Okay. Molly Maguires are radical coal miners. They're really unhappy at both the conditions in the mines and the fact that the mining company owns all the housing and charges them crazy rates. I think Molly Maguires are another example of those unions that just get crushed. Okay. Kush, Jacob Riis, right? We're trying to raise awareness of what's going on in the tenements. That's what he's trying to do. Remember, we talked about his impact on the middle class and making them aware of what's going down in the cities. I don't think anthropology has any effect on the economy. I think anthropology is a new social science that the universities are starting to teach. Okay. Yeah, Kyle, I think you're onto something there with the social science that's just developing 1880s, 1890s, right? Good job on Jacob Riis. Mark Twain's significance, I think it's part of the development of American culture, but no, I don't think Mr. Mui spent a whole lot of time on Mark Twain. Okay. I agree, Parker. Yeah, and I agree with you, Sampin. The AFL is more effective. It's lasting. It's got staying power. Henry Ford, synonymous with the moving assembly line, right? How to make your factories more efficient. You bring the work to the workers. It also allows you to use more unskilled labor, which is more effective, cost effective in the long run. Horatio Alger, his books are all rags to riches, self-made man, right? He's perpetuating the myth. No, ethnic enclaves are where immigrants live in order to feel more comfortable, to avoid assimilation, and to feel less strange in a strange land. Significance of pragmatism, Sean, is really, I think, just it's a new philosophical endeavor brought about by the social sciences. New lines of thinking in universities. It is not something I would spend a whole lot of time on. Okay. I think Henry George, it's single tax. Ooh. Literary equivalent of the Ashcan School. Okay. Samuel Gompers is a union leader. He is a guy. I think he's a former cigar maker who is going to lead labor unions. AFL, cigar rolling is in fact a skilled trade, but Gompers is going to be a union leader. Okay. Did Taylorism also apply to school? No, I don't recall ever reading that Taylorism is used in school, although it would not shock me if they tried to apply the science of efficiency to schools. It is certainly not something that's going to play an important role in APUSH. Gompers, chompers. There you go. How did the single tax work? Let's not worry about it. Taxes. You have to pay a tax to the government. Call it a day. Suraj, the reason reformers want public spaces like parks is that it is not healthy for humans to go without open spaces, sunlight, clean air, that sort of thing. And so how do you beautify the city? How do you eliminate some of the grime and some of the nastiness? You make sure there are parks where people get a break from the gritty realities of the city. Okay. The Great Railroad Strike. I, yeah, I railroad workers striking, higher wages, shorter hours, higher pay. When you mess with the trains, you mess with the mail. The government's going to take an involvement, and the government's going to send troops. Doesn't really matter if it's from the state or it's from the federal government. Doesn't really matter if it's regular army troops or the National Guard, and the strikes are going to get crushed. Okay. Um, the purpose of the political machines is to make money for the bosses and the machine, and they do this by taking money away by stealing money from the cities. And they're able to do this because the immigrants and the poor people exchange votes for security, help with food, help with the job, help with living expenses, that sort of thing. Okay. Man, we just spent a whole 8x11 on why Carnegie was so successful. Read Masters of Steel by Richard Heilbronner. Goals for the AFL. 8-hour workday, better wages, shorter hours, better working conditions. Goals of the Knights of Labor, 8-hour workday, end to child labor. Okay. Yes, the owners win every strike in this particular chapter. Yes. Later on, the unions are going to win some, but right now, the owners win. Knights of Labor were inclusive. Men and women, white and black, native and immigrant, kids, skilled or unskilled. Anybody, any worker could join the Knights of Labor. Got it. You look up in the queue, ashcan artists paint the realities of life. Okay. See, Bulliard said it too. It was the whole 8x11. Boss rule is political machine rule. Okay. Dude, Andrew Carnegie working as a telephone operator is not on the test. Does the gospel of wealth include social Darwinism in it? I mean, maybe not explicitly stated, but the gospel of wealth, I'm sure it's got socially Darwinian ideas in it. What you need to know about the gospel of wealth is that the rich have an obligation to better their community by using their money for charities and philanthropy. That's what I think you need to think about with the gospel of wealth. We don't want government supporting the poor. We want the rich folks supporting the poor, because then you can continue with laissez-faire and a lack of government intervention. Okay. Chain stores and mail order categories resulting in increase. Oh man, you don't want to get me started on mail order catalogs resulting in the role of women increasing as consumers. Yeah, I think so, because dad's at work in a factory 6 days a week. And so, or dad's at work managing a factory 6 days a week. And so mom's at home and she's, buying a washing machine to save her time. She's making sure the kids' clothes all fit. And it's mom who's got the time and honestly the responsibility of making sure the family is all well dressed and well fed, and the house is well furnished. So yeah, I think for middle class, upper middle class America, the women are the consumers. That's, for better or for worse, historically speaking, that was women's work. Okay. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's right on Knights of Labor, Shreya. That's correct. National Consumers League. I think Kyle defined it maybe 15 minutes ago. National Consumer League, harnessing the consumer power of women. Yeah. I honestly, Molly Maguire's late 1860s, early 1870s, they're either crushed by the army or the mining companies hired goons. Potato. Go with Molly Maguire's crushed. I think the socialists are critics of capitalism. Socialists would argue that capitalism divides man into classes, the upper class, middle class, lower class. This is unnatural. Socialism is going to agitate for the worldwide workers' revolution. They want a classless society where the workers own the factories and the government's in charge. I think the socialists are the natural enemy of big business and the industrialists like Andrew Carnegie. The anarchists just don't want any government at all. They are looking more for a wild, wild west phenomenon. City Beautiful Signet. Boy, you guys are pushing hard for the hoop. Isn't the City Beautiful about creating parks and open spaces? Led to, caused by Central Park, Belle Isle, Frederick Law Olmsted, right? City Beautiful led to parks, green spaces. Yeah, but you got to remember, Hadi, which workers we're talking about. Who's got time for leisure? It's middle class, upper middle class. I mean, the poor, the factory workers, what's their leisure? It's going down to the saloon and it's drinking and then going home for a few hours worth of sleep. It's if you're poor, you're going to the movies or a vaudeville act on Sunday, and that's your entertainment. You don't need a lot of money to go see a movie or vaudeville or to drink beer in a bar. For the working class in factories, that's what you do Saturday night and Sunday, right? It's not that different today. People go out on the weekends. So I think your middle class is more your time-consuming, money-consuming highbrow culture. And your working class Joes are taking advantage of that lowbrow culture. I'm not sure there is a huge significance to tycoon universities. I think it's an example of the gospel of wealth in action. Yes, working 70 more hours a week does suck. I would agree with that. What exactly? Tammany Hall is the headquarters of the New York City political machine run by Boss Tweed. That's what happened. Graft, both kinds. Bribery, kickbacks, corruption. That's what goes down at Tammany Hall. No, do not. No, Henry James or William James is the pragmatist guy, I believe. No, just anthropology, pragmatism. You need to know like the 3-cent version. Don't get wound up in that. Realism is different than surrealism. Okay, I didn't say that. Sean, realism is Ashcan. Last time we talked art, it was Hudson River School, and they go out and they paint nature like it is some wonderland. Ashcan School is gritty reality of life. Realism. Parker, I expect a 4-page paper about college football and how it almost died and was resurrected by Teddy Roosevelt as a test of manhood. I expect to see that paper on my desk tomorrow morning. I think I just did give realism a once-over. Reverse Hudson River School. Solid. That's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah. Because most art tends to show things. You think about like old-timey art from the Renaissance, they don't show the realities of living in a mud hut and what it looks like when your whole city is wiped out by cholera. They draw bowls of fruit. Realism shows life as it really is. The picture of McSorley's I put up, drawing or painting a portrait of dudes drinking beer in a bar, it's not highbrow culture. That's life, man. Like it. Football, low-key, kind of boring. Kush Patel, you need to know your audience. You just said to a football coach that football low-key kind of boring. Seems like Kush Patel doesn't really value his grade. Good luck, buddy. You don't understand Mark Twain. He wrote Huck Finn. He wrote Tom Sawyer. He's an example of Gilded Age literature. There. Mark Twain shows life the way it is. There's a reason that you don't read Huck Finn anymore. It's because Mark Twain wrote using the language of the day, and the language of the day contains racial slurs. Gilded Age America, they use words for race we don't use anymore. Mark Twain's books are an example of realism. There, try that. Are six sports than football? All right, here, I'm doing it. I just put you in timeout. You want to make fun of a sport? Make fun of a sport other than the one I love. You're welcome. Nasha, you can come back when you can play nice. It's like awkward staring in class when you all just stare at me. Robber barons. All right, so we don't know how political machines are defeated yet. Um, Later on, what they're going to try and do is separate the politicians from the money. And I believe we're going to get to this in, don't quote me, chapter 19, maybe chapter 20. They're going to find ways to separate the politicians who have to scramble for votes and the city money. But we're not quite there yet. All right. Robber barons. Robber barons, they're another name for captains of industry. Okay, robber barons are another name for the Carnegies and the Rockefellers. It's kind of a question as what line, what side of the argument do you fall on? Are they captains of industry who led America into a golden industrial age, or are they robber barons who stole money from their workers by exploiting them and then made vast amounts of wealth? That's kind of a question of opinion. You know, I mean, there's arguments either way. Okay. Bryn Mawr, Vassar, Mount Holyoke, Seven Sisters. Women are being underserved by higher education, so we need women's schools. Seven Sisters are like the female Ivy League. Hi, Irene. Hi, Annabelle. Same as other strikes against Carnegie. Yeah, I want to say you're right. You're right. It is the same as other strikes. It's Carnegie Steel. The workers go on strike. There's some serious violence at Homestead. I think Henry Frick, who was mentioned in the 8 by 11 article, I want to say the dude either orders the goons to go after the workers, or he's like shot by one of the workers. But Homestead sees some crazy violence between the strikers and the hired goons / government troops. Do we need to know every woman Ivy League type school? No, I think if you can identify Bryn Mawr and Holyoke and Vassar, you're okay. Frick was the factory manager. Thank you. I think, Sean, almost every strike in history. Look at Lowell when we talked about the mill girls, right? It's wages, it's hours, it's conditions. All right. Americanization campaigns. Who would need to be Americanized? It's the new immigrants, right? They would need to be Americanized. So Americanization campaigns are an example of an attempt to assimilate new immigrants. Do we need to know who financed the railroads? Nah, I think you're okay. All right, so I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna flip this around. Treya, who do you think would believe in laissez-faire? The haves or the have-nots? Siraj, scroll up, buddy. Pragmatism is knocked out early on in the live chat. Me too. Shreya, I agree with you. It's the wealthy. It's the people who have, right? They've made their fortune. Life is good. Don't need any government regulation because that just gets in the way of them making money. So I think the wealthy would very much believe in laissez-faire. People who aren't affected by long hours, low pay, dangerous factory conditions would believe in laissez-faire. But the working class, the people who are actually in the factories, that it's got to be tough when no one's on your side. Okay. Lily, that's a pretty good definition. Nice job. Leisure for the poor. Yeah, I agree with that. Undertale, lowbrow leisure. Okay. Yep, bring down the wages. Why? Well, because the Knights of Labor, they're looking for a mass movement. They want as many allies as possible. Knights of Labor isn't as concerned about driving down wages because if you remember what the Knights of Labor was about, ending child labor, 8-hour day, Knights of Labor is a little more focused on getting a mass movement together, whereas the AFL is very much focused on helping skilled workers and skilled workers only. Why are the farmers mad at the railroads? Freight rates. If you are a farmer, how do you get your corn or your wheat to the cities back east where it can be sold? You got to put it on the railroad. The railroads charge you an arm and a leg. Not unlike companies are going to charge people for shipping over the next 2-3 days so it gets here by the 24th. The farmers are really angry that the railroads charge them an arm and a leg to ship corn and wheat, and that's why they're mad. Why did Lester Frank Ward criticize big business? We have lots of reasons to criticize big business. Higher prices, unstable economy, income inequality, loss of economic opportunity, loss of democratic opportunity. So, Ward's big beef is, why isn't the government trying to help? Newspapers are lowbrow. Lowbrow. Henry Lloyd and wealth against the Commonwealth. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that one up. You look up Henry Lloyd and wealth against the Commonwealth. Tell me what it says. I just want to take the test already. I just want to give the test already. Let's fast forward to Friday night at 7:36. Henry George single trust. Excuse me. Henry George single tax. Edward Bellamy single trust. And Lester Frank Ward need government intervention. Ooh, look at you spelling, please. Birth of a Nation is an example of a movie. In this case, it's a very racist movie. It is lowbrow culture. Oh, you are right, Sampson. You got it. No government intervention in the economy. How's that? No government involvement in the economy. Were sport ball teams lowbrow? Yes, sports ball teams are lowbrow. All right. There you go. You're all over it, Mr. Patel. Yep. Looks good. Bulliard, is that the eye of Sauron or is that an owl? Yellow journalism. Sensational, exaggerated headlines to sell newspapers. Newspapers are growing by leaps and bounds, and yellow journalism is all over it. We're not first naming anybody, Patel. Okay, fair enough. You lost me. Salvation Army. I think the Salvation Army is trying to help the poor, and the social Darwinists are not thrilled about that fact because, providing a safety net for the poor is just perpetuating the problem. Wolf. All right. Hey, man, everybody's got a spirit animal. Newspaper chains also appeared at this time? Yes. That's an emphatic yes. Don't be yelling at anybody, Emma. Munn versus Illinois is going to come back to us. It's going to come back to us in the next unit. Munn versus Illinois is an attempt by the railroads to so we've got Wabash, which allows the states to regulate the railroads and bring down some of those freight prices that are killing the farmers. MUN is the railroads winning a court case that says states can't regulate interstate commerce. Okay. Specific realist authors, maybe just Mark Twain. You know? Yeah, American Protective Association is one of those nativist societies. Yeah. What does it mean that your spirit animal is a stick figure? Nothing? You don't have time for art lessons? I don't know. I think you're good. Nothing wrong with a high quality stick figure. You are your icon. All right. Okay, APA and IRL do different. I had this written down on my paper today. APA and IRL, what they do different? I want to say the Immigration Restriction League wanted to separate. That's the word that I thought was on my paper today. Wanted to separate natives and immigrants, or separate out the good immigrants, i.e., old immigrants, from the new immigrants. Yeah, there you go. IRL only wants desirable immigrants, right? The ones that have skills, the ones that have language skills, the ones that have money. We do not want the dregs of society. No, I think the specifics of all those forms of mass transit, it's about bringing organization to the cities and limiting the chaos and the overcrowding. Yeah, good job. There you go. IRL is restriction. APA is cut it off. Good work. Good work. Oh, sorry, I totally missed that, Lily. 4th of July have any importance? It's a common experience for all Americans, whether you are highbrow or lowbrow. Everybody celebrates the 4th of July. America. You guys are all saucy to each other tonight. You need 2 or 3 more R's in America. Hey, are you studying over there? There you go. Now you're talking. So if you scroll back up, Knights of Labor, the biggest difference is the Knights of Labor is inclusive. The American Federation of Labor is only for white skilled male workers. Oh, Eureka? Murica. 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 If Henry Ford did, okay, so Henry Ford moving assembly line using Taylorism to make his factories more efficient. Why is there a conflict between the first generation immigrants and the second generation immigrants? I'm assuming when you say first generation immigrants, you're talking about the people who lived in the old country and physically traveled to the United States. And when you call second generation immigrants, you're talking about their kids who only know the United States. So your first generations live in an ethnic enclave, hold fast to old cultural traditions, old cultural food, manners of dress, but their kids want to be American. And that causes some conflict as the kids adopt American standards, values, and habits, and their parents don't. That causes some conflict. I would imagine that, I mean, I know for my own family, there was a great deal of conflict between first and second generation immigrants. Yeah, not when you say second generation immigrants, I'm thinking it's the kids that are born here or that come here when they are toddlers and really only know America. So there's that cultural disconnect now because the parents remember the old country. The parents cling to the old traditions. The kids don't have that baggage. They don't have that connection. So they're embracing the American stuff that they get in schools, right? No, you no, we're banning the use of the word boomer. What caused the Haymarket bombing? Anarchists gonna anarchist, right? Anarchists. They hate government. They hate the laws and strictures of America, and so fight the man, throw a bomb, that sort of thing. I refuse to be called something that you don't know. There you go. Yeah, I can live with that definition, Kyle. I'm cool. It is definitely theater for lowbrows. Yep. 20, like 40. What's their lowbrow theater? It is literally 4 lines up, Salvage. Yeah, never mind is right. 20 years too young. Math is hard. Okay, so it looks like we're about ready to be done. If workers had rising wages, why are there so many violent strikes and protests? Let us not forget the crazy long hours that they are working, usually 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and the crazy dangerous work conditions. There are no safety features, there's no government regulations about safety, there's no flame protection. And let us not forget that, I mean, as soon as cheaper workers come along, people are fired and replaced. There's very little job security. So you might bump up my pay by a nickel an hour, but if people are dying or losing arms and legs left and right, if we got lots of kids being brought in because they're cheap, workers are not happy. I would also imagine workers are not happy when they see how the robber barons are living, right? Because you're never going to be there. Taylorism, good call. How the other half live, very good, very good, very good. Okay, cool beans. Yeah, Taylorism. Okay, all right, nice. That is good crowdsourcing. I like it. No, do not worry about the specific machines that are industrializing. No, I don't think Taylorism and pragmatism are very similar at all. Taylorism is really truly about it's saving costs, it's cutting costs in your business, it's becoming more efficient at production. I don't think there's a real connection there. Uh-uh. No, no, and not one that I have ever heard. I think Bellamy isn't so much afraid of a single trust as he is predicting that they're going to all merge together. He's preaching socialism without the revolution, is what he's talking about. Tess, that is the best question I have gotten all night. Eugene V. Debs is a socialist labor organizer who is going to be a playa in American politics for like 20, 25 years. And Debs is a loud agitator for socialism in America. He's going to protest World War I. He's going to go to jail multiple times. I want to say that our boy Debs was, it's not Great Railroad, it's Pullman. Debs is one of the union leaders in the Pullman strike that gets crushed by government workers because it's interfering with the transport of the mail. And Debs is going to go to jail, and he's going to go to jail a bunch of times. He's actually going to run for president from a jail cell in 1920. So Debs is a labor or union socialist mover and shaker we're going to hear from again. Legit thought it was a court case for socialism. Totally understandable. Oh, yeah, I know. I'm evil. Mass transit, trolleys, subways, L trains, suspension bridges, making it easier to move around cities, making it easier to for people to move around cities, right? That's what I would go with, mass transit. Wasn't Leroy Anderson the country singer who sang Friends in Low Places? That's all right. You want to hear how Mockingbird ends? Gatsby, maybe? Okay, I will take your word for it on Leroy Anderson. But if you knew that, why'd you ask? Uh, Boss Tweed, Tammany Hall, Think Political Machines. Yes, I know it was Garth Brooks. Thank you. I celebrate his entire catalog. Yeah, Catcher in the Rye is no bueno. Their eyes are watching God. Yeah, there is transportation from the workplaces to the neighborhoods. It is mass transit that allows the cities to build outward and to kind of separate some of the neighborhoods from the factory districts. Yep. Oh, Parker, I have no doubt that your dad celebrates Garth Brooks' entire catalog. I believe that. Tell your dad I said hi. Happy holidays. Oh, no, come on. Until we write a book that kids are reading 100 years later, we can't bag on any of this literature too much. Yeah, tenements for the poor, right? Slums for the poor, suburbs, middle class, middle upper class, that sort of thing. Yep, yep. It is the eighth unit. Go crazy. Uh, uh, there you go. Halfway. Over halfway, right? Don't we have 14 units? Skyscrapers go up. Yeah. And I think it's not so much that there's no more room to build out as sometimes it's just easier to build up than out because you don't have to transport people long distances. You keep them downtown. And yes, steel beams. You got it. I I don't know what that means, Kim. I don't know your teenage lingo. Why have we never dug down like moles? I don't have a good answer to that. Yeah, I mean L train in New York, L train in Chicago. Um, I I would say I'm less concerned with you being able to match mass transit with various cities and know what mass transit is for. Long essay question. You want LEQ, Kim. LEQ. No, I don't think the main residents of skyscrapers are the poor. The main residents of skyscrapers are I think we're going to find businesses move into skyscrapers. They can pay the rent. Oh, nice try, Abby. Mass transit to help deal with the overcrowded cities, the overcongested cities. Americanization, I think that's a result of the fears of immigrants and their impact. What was the biggest mass transit system in town and cities? I would think subways. Yeah. Eat fresh, Nashi. Eat fresh. Just imagine if you were eating Subway on a subway. That would be quite the experience. Yes, Chinese Exclusion Act has not changed. Yep, 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 yep. To all of the above. Who eats Subway for dinner? Uh, people do. People do. Jimmy John's is better, but Subway is convenient. We're studying over here about as well as you're studying over there. Penn Station for the win. There you go. Hang on, just everybody stop. What's the amazing sandwich combination? I won't answer any more questions till I find out. To be nice. Hey, I'm not answering any more questions till I find out what the sandwich combination is. Annabelle? I will shut this live stream down. Tuna. Do you know how long that tuna stuff has been sitting in there? Yeah. All right. I got nothing. Kyle, you can't have any more questions. What could you possibly need to ask? You got a minute and 20 seconds. I'm surprised it's 53.6% chicken. Why is anybody here? Okay, that's not terrible, Annabelle. That's actually pretty solid. Yes, my daughter is studying for her AP Lit test in the background. Someone said I look like Papa Smurf. I've been called worse. Okay, gang. Let Bulliard ask his last question. Taco's not a sandwich. Kyle? That's it? An up arrow? Okay. We have just crossed the 60-minute mark. We have gotten everybody's sandwich order, growth of anthropology. Um, don't sweat it. Growth of anthropology. It's the rise of the social sciences in the American university. Gang, you have a wonderful night. We will all pretend it's 8 o'clock on Friday and ignore the fact that we are taking an APUSH test along with like 4 other tests tomorrow. You guys have a wonderful night. Don't be afraid to get some sleep. Good luck on tomorrow's test. Bye bye now.